Okay, we are going to practice drawing hands. Okay, so this first bit of practice we are just going to do in our sketchbook, and I have two handouts that I will be giving you to look at, but the one that we're going to look at first is this one that says drawing the human hand. So when we do this, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to start with a square. It does not need to be a perfect square. So you might start just by sketching out lightly a square. Don't make it super small. But if you're struggling with the square, what you can do is just ask for a ruler and go ahead and you can measure out that square. So I would just recommend like using the measuring maybe to 3 inches. So I'm gonna start by drawing a line here, lining it up, doing my best to straighten it out. 3 inches. 3 inches, and then connect there. So should be almost a perfect square. It's okay if it's not a perfect square. So we start with the square, okay? So what this square represents is the palm of our hand, okay? The palm of our hand. So from here, what you are going to do is you are going to draw a line that goes down like a little triangle, but notice that the triangle goes a little bit more than halfway. So if we were to find the halfway mark of this square, it's going to be about 1.5 inches. Notice that the point of the triangle is a little bit below the halfway mark. And you can totally use your ruler for this too. It's not necessary. Okay, so we kind of have this square with a triangle shape. So then from here, you're going to find the halfway mark. You can just eyeball it or find the 1.5, so 1, 2, halfway in between, okay? And we're going to create lines, okay? And those lines are going to be the rays for our 5 fingers, okay? So once again, ruler or not ruler. So this finger, so one thing that you want to look at is look at your own hand. You will see that certain fingers, you know, like obviously my pinky's really short compared to my index finger. My middle finger is just a little bit taller than my index finger, and then, or excuse me, my ring finger. And then my index finger is really not that much shorter than my ring finger, okay? So those are the things that you need to look at and observe. So these 3 will be similar in heights. These ones are going to be significantly different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the ray for my pinky finger, and it's going to go through the corner of this box. So here we go. All right, so that's where my pinky finger is going to go. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it for my next finger. This line is going to be a little bit longer than this one. And also notice that, so it might be easier sometimes to actually do the middle finger first, because it goes after we do this pinky one, because it goes straight up and down. So if I go all the way up through here, it's gonna go this way, okay? Then the ring finger is gonna split the difference in between these 2 spaces. So now once you have those lines, you might want to check the height. So if I have my pinky finger that is going to be this long, well, I probably need to extend this line a little bit, which means I probably need to make this line a little bit longer too, okay? So then the same thing is going to happen here. So for this one, when we draw our index finger, it doesn't go all the way to the corner here. It just goes in a little bit. And so this one is going to be about the same, oops. This one's going to be about the same height, a little bit shorter as this one over here, okay? And then to create your thumb, you are going to go through this triangle point that we made. And like I said, mine's a little bit off. It's okay if you don't do it perfect. I'm going to adjust that though. Okay, so then if we were kind of looking at this, that's kind of the spacing of the actual fingers on my hand. Now this is a little bit smaller, but you can kind of see how that is working. So then from here is when we start adding the hand detail. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start with the outside part of this hand here, and it's going to fill up this square box, okay? So the wrist is going to kind of start here, and it's going to, the outside palm is going to come right up against this line here. Might go outside a little bit, but then as we get to here, this is where our finger will start, okay? So you might just go all the way, might be a little bit longer than what your line is drawn here. I need to erase that, but it's okay. Then when you create the little dips down, use your square as a guide. You can see in this drawing that the little swoops down just sit right above where we've drawn that square. Okay. So we're just getting the basic outline of this now. This is not actually, we have a lot more details we're gonna add. Make sure that you're not making your fingers too skinny. Otherwise it won't look like a hand. Okay. All right, so then when I get down here, I am going to kind of swoop around to get the thumb shape. So I'm gonna finish this one out. Comes right along like this. Now you might see that you have to make a few adjustments. Maybe this one should have been out a little bit further. So you might have to make a few adjustments, and that's okay. Mine's a little bit, has a little too much space in between here, but that's why we practice, okay? So then from here, what you are going to be looking at is take a look at your fingers, okay? What do they look like? And start kind of adding in the bumps that you see there. And I'm just gonna draw over these lines and then look at the shape of your nails. A lot of you, when you are drawing your hand or your nails, you just go like that, and that is not what our nail looks like at all. Now, some of yours might a little bit, but they have a shape to them. And we all have different shapes of ours. Sometimes nails are longer and they hang over the edge. But draw your nails how you see them, okay? Is there skin around the outside? What is the shape of them? If we go back to this over here, some of you, if you have short nails, it might be a little bit more like that, okay? If we're looking at it, our nail from the edge, like on our thumbnail here, where do they curve? Okay, so take some time to draw in the shapes of your nails. Okay, so from here, we want our fingers to look even more realistic than what they are. And that is where this little handout comes in handy. So our fingers, if we're looking at them, they are basically 3 cylinders, 3 sections. So if I'm gonna draw kind of a finger that looks like it's kind of pointing like this, and I want you to practice this, we are going to start with a cylinder shape. So I'm gonna do that by drawing an ellipse, which is kind of like an oval. And then I'm going to draw lines down, and I'm gonna finish that off with a curve. All right? So then I'm gonna add the next segment, just like the hand structure here goes. And to do that, if we look at this here, the shape is going to be, it's going to be a little bit different. So imagine that we're just connecting this, okay? So to do that, I'm going to start with a line that kind of curves this way. So then this line needs to be parallel with here, okay? And then I'm going to make another curved line. Okay, so that's kind of this section. So then to make the fingertip, mine moves down a little bit. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing, but this section is going to be a little bit smaller and it's going to be at a little bit different angle. Okay, so then instead of just making the ellipse oval circle, I'm going to kind of round it out as what my finger might look like. So I'm kind of drawing this as if it's on the side. So there would be my fingernail area. So then we start to have a finger. So from here, we can get rid of these lines inside, but then we have these actual sections of where our fingers bend. So you can accent those a little bit. And then you can start going in and shading it within the curve of that finger. Maybe adding a little bit of a shadow here. Comes across, and then you'll start to get more developed hands. Let's see, I have one that's in process a little bit more. So this one's a little bit more in process as we start shading. So as you start doing that, don't forget to start adding in the details of your knuckles and your wrinkles, okay? So using this formula, you can draw a hand in any hand position, okay? I want to show you a couple of drawings. So, what I want you to work on is using that formula to draw the most realistic hand you can. When you're ready and you've done some practicing, you're going to get a final piece of paper and you're going to do a big drawing of a hand, okay? So I could come back to this drawing that we've started here and I could do the same thing of the fingertips to help me get it a little bit more realistic and get those little knuckles and pieces that I'm looking for, okay? Starting to shade it in to help develop the hand that way, okay? That is going to be our first step to practice, and we're going to continue building this up.